Good morning, or rather good evening when I am putting this video out. I've got a nice boring video for you tonight, which means you lot will probably love it. We're going to go car shopping, but we're going car shopping in 1993. This is an Autotrader magazine that was sent to me, and for context, I've run the numbers through the inflation calculator. £500 in 1993 equates to £1,078 today. That means £1,000 is 2,156 and vice versa. So for the prices on the page, we're going to double it and add a little bit. Now, this is interesting because there's a lot of cars here that we quite simply don't see anymore. So I'm going to run you through a few pages of this Autotrader magazine that I've got zoomed in on Photoshop. So let's see, right at the top, Astra 1.3. Let's just use this as a price guide. So this is a 72,000 mile car. It doesn't say what year it is, and it's in average condition. So you're sort of running and driving cheapest cars in this are around about that 495, 595. Although saying that, there's a Cortina gear here that is only 295, and a Fiesta XR2 there. No tax or MOT, but £395 for a Fiesta XR2. Remember, £500 in 1993 is £1,000 today. Can you imagine buying an XR2 for less than £1,000? Then we've got a Maestro 1.3 CL, a Polo, Talbot Horizon for £450. 1984 Talbot Horizon. Austin Maestro, don't forget the tax would go with the car back in these days. Ford Fiesta 1.1 there, £350. Oh, he's got a T and a V-Reg. There's a choice of two there. An X-Reg Mark III Escort, 1300 GL. So 1993, the Mark IV Escort has just come out, so that would be the old shape. Then we've got Fiat Uno. Wow, Fiat Unos, they've all disappeared. Early shape Honda Accord there. Again, when did you last see one of those? Volvo 340 DL at £995, £2,000 for a Volvo 340 DL. The Volvo 340s never really done much value-wise. They've all sort of languished. Astra, Maestro, Escort. What we're going to do is we're going to go through these, and then we're going to have a look a bit further on, because it does get quite interesting as to what stuff is actually selling for. Here's a Ford Sierra 1.6 Y-Reg. Excellent condition, new clutch, full MOT, must be seen and driven, £695. So we're buying cars at basically 2,000 quid in today's money. Cavalier 1300, again, that would be a few years old by that point because it's the older shape, 495. So 1,000 quid in today's money. And here's a Nissan Cherry 1.3 GL Estate. Lovely. I mean, it's a bit pixelated, but I mean, this is Autotrader before we even had colour photos in Autotrader. Here's a Chevette, £475 for the Chevette 1.3. Another Fiesta and an Escort there. Cavalier 1600. Lots of pretty run-of-the-mill stuff. What do you remember from back in the day? Here's a classic. Dolomite 1500, automatic, 12 months MOT, lovely runner, engine getting tired, hence 250 quid. Bargain. Polo, early Polo, A-Reg, nice, £795, Montego Estate. We had some friends that had a Montego Estate. I think it was the diesel, and it kept getting stolen. And it got stolen that many times that they'd always hoped that they never got it back. But for some reason, every time it got stolen, they'd get it back. Let's go on to page 2 and see what else we've got on page 2. I'm going to zoom in over here. Right, what we got on this sign here. Cheap cars, always for sale, from trade-in deals, all with MOT, some taxed. What a great advert. Cortina for 600 quid, Sierra for 600 quid, and an MG Metro, silver, long MOT, 695. That would be a great buy. And Allegro, 1300, taxed and tested, radio, because the radio is optional. Good condition, a bargain at £295. Another Fiesta. Doesn't seem to be any order in this section. I'm not quite sure what section of the Autotrader we're in here. But as I say, there's a bit of everything. We've got a BMW 320 here, Y-Reg, £895. Fiat 126, you never see those anymore, do you? Another Mini here in russet brown. Look at that, 395 quid. Clean car. That's my pick so far. Let me know which of these is your pick. Check this out though, Toyota Celica, 2 litre XT, 1983, metallic blue, stereo, 5-speed, very economical, long MOT, tax and no rust, £795. Cool car. You do not see any of those. Morris Ital 1.3, £395. Escort 1.3 with new rear shockers. I like it. A-Reg Fiat Panda Super. Hey, have you seen how much Fiat Pandas are going for? These square-shaped Fiat Pandas. They're loads of money now. And you never see these Astra Estates. I assume there would have been a lot of these Astra Estates around, but they've just completely disappeared. £450 on those. Another Mini, a Sierra 1.5. What I want to do is see what is in here that is actually not that old. And what's quite interesting is when we go over to the commercial vehicles page and see how much commercial vehicles are relative to what stuff is selling for today. Lada Riva, G-Reg, so G would be 1989, so this car would be 4 years old, one owner, full MOT, still with a warranty. Look at that, beautiful condition throughout, not the usual rubbish, because Lada had a terrible reputation for rust. 995 or 2,000, just over 2,000 quid in today's money. Oh, here we have a Chevette 1.3 for £495 with 8 months MOT. Moving on. Oh, there you go. Oh, can't quite see that Escort. It's not quite on the page. Flat front Escort, 1600 X-Pack. Spaxes, twin lights, gear interior, all round good condition, £495. Yeah, think about that with what that Escort sold for over the weekend. Metro, oh, there you go, Rover 3500 SE manual. That's an SD one, 1982. So it's what, 11 years old at this point, 9 years old. £595 for that. Another Cavalier there on a B-Reg, so that's an 84, £795. So commanding a premium over the SD1. So the depreciation on the SD1 slightly worse. An FSO Polonaise, look at that, £895. One owner, excellent condition. Doesn't state the mileage, but it's interesting that the UK was buying these cars back then. You know, we joke now about, oh, we're buying Chinese cars. Well, back in these times, it was, you know, buying cars from the Eastern Bloc that was more controversial than buying Chinese cars. So down here, we've got a Volkswagen Derby LS. That is a Polo with a boot. A very cool car. Metallic red with beige interior. One owner, 12 months MOT, new exhaust. That is my new favourite car from this Autotrader. £595. That's the one I want. Right, let's go over here. We've got... I was hoping that what we'd find is newer cars. L, VW Beetle. No, that's an older one. So what I was looking for was how much a brand new car was going to be, but I'm not really seeing that in this page. So let's zoom out and we'll go on to our third page of cars before we move on to vans and light commercial vehicles, and then we're going to move on to estate cars. So we're in general cars at the moment on page 3. What have we got up here? We've got a Volvo 244 automatic 1981, so that'd be 12 years old. Genuine car, true quality Volvo condition with excellent body and mechanics, £925. And then a Lada Samara. Look at that. Do you remember Lada Samaras? I remember the Lada Samara. Someone at our church had one. But again, you just never, ever see those. They've all disappeared. £995. So similar price. You can have an 81 Volvo 244 or an 89 Lada Samara. Which one are you having? We're all going for the Volvo. There's an Audi 80 GL. So these cars are 10 years old at the time of publication of this magazine. It's just interesting to see what is priced at what. RS2000 flat front replica Mark II, full MOT, mint condition, no rust, drive superb, RS spoilers, rear seat belts, quarter bumpers, RS colour coded, any trial and test, no faults, £595. Mrs. Geoff is saying, would you like me to pour you a cup of tea? I'd love you to pour me a cup of tea. Thank you, darling. How much was a cup of tea in 1993? Ford Fiesta, Audi 80CL, Vauxhall Cavalier 1.6, Triumph Acclaim. She needs the milk. There you go, darling. Volkswagen Scirocco, 1984, A-Reg, tax, long MOT alloys, rear wash and wipe. I love that that's listed as an option. £950. Mazda 626. These were good-looking cars. They've disappeared as well. And there's another Fiat Panda. As I said, it is worth going and having a look at what these early square Fiat Pandas are selling for. Austin Maestro, Ford Orion, Nissan Prairie. That's the sound of the tea being poured, not somebody having a wee. Nissan Prairie, wire edge, 1500cc, 995. These used to be everywhere, these Nissan Prairies, and they've completely disappeared. Celica, 2 litre. That's such a great looking car. I do like the Celica. And this Polo as well. There's another Polo. That's well, I would call it a Derby. But it's the latest shape. So that is, thank you for my tea, darling, £995. Wire edge Ford Escort GL, and then a Capri. The Capri is £995, so £2,000 in today's money. Special wheels, alarmed, lowered, uprated suspension, and receipts to show. This car must be seen. I like it. Granada Estate, 2.3 litre. Would that be the V6? You can correct me in the comments. Well, that's interesting though. It's left-hand drive. Hey, look at this. T-Reg, 12 months MOT. Gear alloys, sunroof, tow bar, metallic silver, brown velour, excellent runner, very reliable, manual, left-hand drive, 225 quid. That is no money. In fact, that is the equivalent of, I'll tell you, that's the equivalent of about 500 quid today. So, yeah, that's the one for me. I'll take that to Europe. Datsun Prairie there. We've had a Nissan Prairie, and then there's a Yugo 45. £795, 3 times the cost of a left-hand drive Granada. Right, let's go on to the first of our vans, because what's interesting about the vans is how many of them have just completely disappeared. So if we zoom in here, right, we're in 1993, so the new shape Transit has not long come in. Bedford Rascal, 47,000 miles, 1895 on an F reg. F would be 1989, so that's 4 years old, is that right? Diesel Escort Chairman, look at that, high top van with a wheelchair ramp. Tell you what, if they gave those out on Motability, we wouldn't have as much Motability taking the mick as we do today, because no one would want to be seen in a Diesel Escort Chairman high top van with a wheelchair ramp. Toyota Hiace Diesel, 1987, so that's 5 years old at this point. So £5,000 in today's money. Tell you what, £5,000 in today's money does not buy you a 5-year-old van. Vans have got ridiculously expensive. I love this. Look, F-Reg Diesel Nissan D21, 3495, so that's £7,000 in today's money. £7,000 again does not buy you a 6, 7, 8-year-old single cab 4-wheel drive pickup truck. That's how much inflation has gone up. It's not so much inflation, it's just the price of cars has gotten ridiculous. So this is a 1988 short wheelbase diesel Transit, all right, bread and butter of the commercial world. At this point, it's 5 years old, 11 months MOT, it's 2,000 quid, so £4,000 in today's money. Go on eBay or Autotrader and try and find yourself a decent usable van for £4,000, let alone one that's only 5 years old. So that's what's been going on in the market here. We've got some Renaults. I'm going to skip through some of these commercials. We're on to page 2 anyway. Let's have a little look here. We'll go back to the top. The Bedford Midi. Remember those? You used to see these everywhere. They used to be used as delivery vehicles for corner shops. They've all gone. There's a long wheelbase Transit. Nice, £6,800. It's a J-Reg, so that is a year old. 43,000 miles, one owner. So that is £13,000. You can't buy a 1-year-old Transit for £13,000. I'm not going to say it anymore. We know that the price of vans has gotten absolutely ridiculous. Ford P100, full MOT, very good condition, full range of extras, 58,000 miles, £3,000, £6,000 for that. But again, it's very difficult to buy a basic pickup truck in 2025. Seat Terra van, I like this, and I know that you like this as well. 1990, so it's 3 years old, low mileage, taxed and tested, great condition, 1,500 quid or 3,300 quid in today's money. And here we have an electric milk float in running order, excellent condition, an ideal opportunity to own this sought-after vehicle. Offers invited. I don't know what you'd have to offer in 1993 for a milk float. It doesn't say what year it is or anything like that, but I find that quite amusing. Let's move on. We'll do this page of vans just because there's some interesting stuff on here. Obviously, in the top right-hand corner, there we go. That's caught my eye. 1989 immaculate Volkswagen Caddy diesel pickup truck, 63,000 miles, taxed and tested, 12 months, recent tyres, radio, excellent mechanically. £2,500 or, £5,500 in today's money, which actually makes mine look like a bargain. Someone's selling nudge bars and bull bars for vans and pickup trucks. Don't think that's allowed anymore. Didn't they ban bull bars off vehicles? There was something else I wanted to show you in here as well, and it was that's cool though, Mercedes 310 high roof side door, tax and tested 1595. These had the most dependable engines. They were well known for lasting forever. There you go, Peugeot 504 diesel pickup truck. That is so cool. It's a G-Reg, so that would be an 89. So it's 4 years old at this point. Loading tray, £2,500 and a tow hitch. And there's a Fiat Ducato turbo diesel, 1,800 quid. That's probably the same engine. No, it's not, because we haven't got a turbo in the motorhome, which is going to cause us problems when we go up hills. But never mind for now. I'm quite enjoying this Suzuki Jeep as well. SJ 413, white, one owner, 4,295 quid. Double it for today's money. And Ford P100s, diesel pickups, G-Reg, 3 years old, in red or white with a truckman top, 4,695. Loving it. Right, let's go on to our first page of estate cars. Let's just check that there's nothing I want to show you. Oh no, there is. There is something I want to show you on this commercial page. If we go over here, look, re-advertised due to time wasters, Land Rover, petrol ambulance, coach built body, ideal for many uses, excellent condition, 1,500 quid. That's cool. Another Seat Terra van. And then this Peugeot 305. This is excellent. I like that. 2,600 quid. Again, you don't see those anymore. A couple of these have popped up for sale lately, and they're expensive and they're always rusty, but they always catch my eye. I do like stuff like that. And then down in this corner here, we've got a diesel Bedford. That might well be the van that I own. It's probably not, because I think mine was actually off the road. No, it was. My diesel box van was off the road and scrap by the time this magazine was printed, which is quite hilarious. So let's go into estate cars. We'll finish with the estate cars because, as you know, estate cars are peak motor car. Let's go from the start page here. Here you go, estates. Look, there's our heading. Right at the top, we've got this one's a bit out of focus. Volvo 740 GLE for £5,800. Oof, that is £15,000-ish in today's money. And it's a few years old, so the Volvos were holding their value very well. £3,000 for the G-Reg Sierra Estate. Let's get off this page because of the pixelated images. But, I mean, this Toyota Previa, these are cool. These were fairly new at the time. Lots of Escort Estates as well. Mitsubishi Space Wagon 1800 GLX, 1988 F-Reg. MOT and tax. We bought one exactly like that. My mum had one of these. Because there were 7 seats, but you cannot find them anymore. And speaking of cars that you cannot find anymore, a Talbot Rancho, tax and MOT, above average, no rot underneath, totally reliable and economical. Factory recon engine, 25,000 miles, must go, space needed. £765, all offers, less than £2,000 in today's money for a Talbot Rancho. Possibly the father of the SUV movement. That's a very cool car indeed. I like that. Another 7-seater Mitsubishi wagon here, this time 4,250 quid. E-Reg is 5 years old, and it's what, 15 grand in 8? No, sorry, my maths is terrible. Just under 10 grand in today's money. Again, everything seems to have 7 seats these days. Here's another one, Renault Savannah. That'll be a 7-seat as well, because back in these days, you couldn't buy a 7-seat SUV. You had an estate car. You'd have one of these, which is a Mercedes 124, or you'd have a Renault Savannah, or you'd have a Peugeot 505. A Prairie, I think, was 7-seat, or you had a Space Wagon or a Volvo with the seats in the back. The Renault Espace and Toyota Previa were only just finding their way in the market. Right, let's go on to page 2 of our estate cars, going up to the top here. Look at that. Carlson Commando kit car. Immense chassis, fiberglass body, 2-litre Ford engine, auto, seats 4 adults, sunroof, over driver and passenger area. Sunroofs over driver and passenger area. Immense luggage area, tailgate, discreet tools and spares. That's pretty cool. But who's buying it? I'm not really sure. I'd have the Rancho instead. Mercedes 230 TE W124, £10,250. There you go. Mercedes-Benz holding their value. £20,000 in today's money for an F-Reg Mercedes. Are you bored yet, darling? Mm. Oh, Mrs. G is actually enjoying my Auto Trader commentary. Volvo 740 GL with the wrong photo. That's actually a Mazda 626. Trade sale here. Volvo 245 DL automatic. Recon engine just fitted with bills. New tyre, new exhaust, very good condition. 1395. A lot of Volvos for sale. Look at this Toyota Corolla. I'd love it if this Toyota Corolla was still around, because that is a forever car. There's no way that car would break down. Toyota were making some really solid but very boring cars at the time. Back down to the Savannah. Let's zoom out a little bit, see what else we've got. Toyota Corolla 4x4. Oh, that's cool. 4x4 Corolla for $4,995. I mean, having a four-wheel drive in 1993 was a bit of a big deal, really. You got the Renault. Was it Renault Broadway? Was that a special edition, or have they got that wrong there? I'm not sure, but it's a two-door, which makes it quite rare. Vauxhall Astra Estate. Again, these used to be absolutely everywhere, but they've totally disappeared. Right, page 3 of our estates, and we are wrapping up the video because I appreciate it's been quite a long one. Another space wagon there at $5,950. Again, these never come up for sale at all in any condition, so they've completely disappeared. I want a Toyota Previa. I think it would be interesting to have a Toyota Previa at some point. It would be very useful family transport for days out, so I'll keep an eye out. But they're usually for sale in Bradford and Birmingham, because people from Bradford and Birmingham have large families and need people carriers. Getting to the edge of what can be said there, but there you go. Nissan Prairie, again, these have totally disappeared. You never see Nissan Prairies anymore. Which is interesting because the Volvos have a pretty high survival rate. You know, you do see Volvo 740s and 940s around. This is 1993, so the Volvo 850 at this point would be in its first year, so you wouldn't really see any in Auto Trader. Space Cruisers, Toyota Space Cruisers are just cool. This one's a G-Reg, so it's, 4 years old at this point, and it's £16,000. Because it's not an old car. Peugeot 405 1.9 GR, 5,000 quid. And then check this out, Citroen CX Safari, 1988. So 5 years old, £3,200. I mean, that was a risky buy even when it was 5 years old. So wouldn't want to be buying one of those today. They're incredibly cool, but they're very complex. And I do like a Renault 21 Savannah. Again, one of those popped up for sale not too long ago, and I was pretty close to buying it because I do think they're quite cool. Mazda 929 2-litre auto. Are there any of those left in the UK at all now? I would wager probably not. We've got one more page of estates before we wrap up this video. Oh, I've got 2 more pages of estates, so let's do them pretty quickly. What we got here? We've got a... this is interesting at the top. Look, Mercedes. There's something up with this one. I think this is a dodgy advert. I think this is an early... You know, you get this Facebook Marketplace ads where the cars are far too cheap. This is a Merc 300e on an E-Reg. So it's a 1987, so it's only 6 years old. And don't forget, we saw a Mercedes that was 10 grand. This one, Auto 7-seater, long tax MOT, first to see and drive by 995. Do you think they've put the price in wrong, or is that a scam advert in old school print? Because if you look at this one, there's a 200T estate down here, and it's 9495. So what's the deal? What's going on? Let's take a quick look at this Renault Espace. Look at this, a Renault Espace Mark 1 with bull bars. It's a 2000 GTS. It's blue metallic, 52,000 miles, £8,495, 16 grand-ish in today's money. Yeah, very interesting to see that. What else we got down here? Sierra, Volvo, Space Cruiser, and cheapest ever 89 Montego 1.6 estate. Cheapest ever, is it? 2,495, £5,000 for a Montego. Right, last page of estates, I promise. Let's go right up to the top. Another Espace. I do love an Espace. These early Espaces are very cool. Another Space Wagon, 11,995, and the Audi 100 Avant. Lovely car and a lot of money. Look, 5,595. Expensive car, that. Volvo here, holding its value nicely, 3 years old, and it's £9,000 or £18,000-ish in today's money. And I like the look of this Peugeot 405 GTXi estate. metallic grey, velour, 5-speed, electric windows, sunroof, alloys, etc. Only 40,000 miles, £8,000. Carlton 2 litre. It's got a wheel clamp on it, look. Obviously being sold from a lovely area. And what we got down at the bottom here. Larders, estate saloons and hatchbacks from £300 to £3,995, all with warranty. That's where I'd be going. The Larder Discount Centre. Wonder what happened to the Larder Discount Centre. Peugeot Fire 5 GR, very cool. My head teacher when we were at primary school had one of these. He had a light green one. He had a 505 GR. And then he collapsed one day playing the piano in school assembly. Banged his head on the piano and we never saw him again. And that was that. And now the children are awake and coming into the room. So that means that is the end of a video that I filmed this morning and that you watched late at night. Thank you very much for watching. The kids are whacked due to a late night yesterday when we went to Swansea and came back in a hire car. My Ford Focus 1 litre EcoBoost review will be on the channel in the coming days. Thank you very much for watching this long and boring video. Let me know which of these cars from 1993 you would be buying. Thanks for watching.